Hello again. Well, it's Sunday afternoon and I'm out here enjoying the last rays of sunshine and a little cool, fresh air. A couple of the integral parts of the 8 principles of health. A third being, of course, the foods that we eat. And in that regard, a good motto or credo to live by is, if nature made it, eat it. If man made it, don't eat it. Or, at the very least, eat it in moderation. You know, the ancients had a much better understanding of the foods that surrounded them and the foods that they ate. They lived much closer to nature than we do in our fast-paced society. They looked at the whole foods around them as signature food or signs of nature. They believed that the signature, or the look of a fruit, vegetable, or nut, actually revealed the area that particular food healed or repaired or maintained. In that aspect, they thought that the plants around them contained an innate wisdom, and I certainly believe that to be true. Daniel actually alludes to this doctrine of signatures, as it was known at the time, in the King James Version of the Bible, when he speaks about a sacred meal that was known as pulse. This pulse, or sacred meal, was eaten by the learned men and was said to increase their understanding and wisdom to a very large degree. It's also interesting to note that those same learned men at the time would go through a fasting of color. For example, they would spend a period of time eating only red foods and then move on to another period of time where they would just fast on blue foods and then green foods and yellow foods and so on. This spectrum of color when it came to fasting is also where we get the story of Joseph and his technicolor dream coat. The people at the time, they recognized the wisdom of Joseph, and this technicolor dream coat was a reflection of their understanding that he had gone through this fasting that the learned and wise men of the time went through. So, what exactly do we mean by signature foods or signs of nature? Well, the ancients, for example, would cut open a carrot and notice that it looked like the human eye. They saw a pupil and an iris, and they took this to mean that the carrot must be good for our eyes. And of course, science has proven this to be the case. Another good example would be the walnut. Again, it has 2 hemispheres like the human brain, a wrinkled membrane like the human brain, and again, they understood this to mean that the walnut must be good for the brain. And of course, again, science has proven this to be the case. A third example, well, the avocado. Not only does it look like the human womb or the female womb, it also contains a seed just like the womb does. Now, their understanding was that it must be good for the womb. And indeed, science has proven that eating avocados reduces your chance of cervical cancer. It also is good for hormonal balance and assists in the dropping of birth weight after pregnancy. Another interesting thing to note about the avocado, that from seed to maturity, it takes exactly 9 months. Interesting. So all in all, I think that Ron Williams said it best when he said that perhaps nature is nutritionally complex so that we as humans don't have to be. And what about this strawberry? What part of the human body does it look like? Well, if you said the heart, you're right. And what do you think a recent study at Harvard just realized that the strawberries are good for? What human part? Well, of course, you and I know. The human heart. Food for thought, wouldn't you say? Peace and love.